But yeah, it comes out that the Patriots broke some rules. They were violating OTA rules. Bill Belichick ends up getting fined $50,000. They get 2 practices stripped from them. They'll be back Wednesday, but it also comes out that Joe Judge was heavily involved, and it was a special teams meeting that was the reason that they were docked. So 20 minutes over schedule, and the fact that the schedule did not clarify that it wasn't a mandatory meet, or wasn't. They didn't clarify that it was optional. Was basically the gist of what the violation is. So, in my opinion, it feels kind of really steep for what it actually entails. But I guess I wanted to get your thoughts overall on what exactly happened, and the big deal. And again, it's just the thing that irks me is that it's Joe Judge that's at the center of it. Because last year was such a disaster with what happened on offense, and it felt like they turned a new leaf with Matt Patricia. Joe Judge, fine, they give him the option to stay, and he does. And now he's already ruining this season again, and we're still not even in June yet. But let's hear it from you.
Yeah, exactly. And just to touch on something you said, and I think this is just first, because I think this has kind of gone under the radar. The reason I think the punishment is as harsh as it is they did this 3 days in a row, or 3 scheduled days in a row. It was February 1st, 2nd, and 4th. So he didn't learn his lesson after the first time. And I know I had that whole spiel on whatever it was, Tuesday, Wednesday, before we signed off about how, are they doing this, or are they, trying to tinker with it for the media or whatever? Because I didn't think they were dumb enough to get practices taken away. I really didn't. The thought considered to me very briefly, but my God, the whole thing with this year is supposed to be, yes, last year was a disaster. It was an unorganized mess. And they've, in so many words, admitted that. Maybe not as strongly as that, but from the statement at the beginning of the offseason to all this talk about turning a new page, yada, yada, yada. They're supposed to be beyond that. And now here we are. We haven't even seen them take the field as a team yet. And they can't even put out a schedule correctly.
CLNS Media's Patriots coverage is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win.
And I thought it was interesting in Greg Bedard's report, and I'm sure he had more over on the Greg Bedard podcast if people want to check that out.
Yep.
Bill Belichick sent an email to the coaches, including Joe Judge, saying to not do exactly what Joe Judge did.
Yep.
And this is a guy in Judge that has a history of being a hardo, that has a history of overstepping, that has a history of kind of ignoring these practice rules. And I go back to when they brought him back, when we found out back in late January that he was going to be back. And my take was, I guess if he's going to be here, him being in a special teams role is the best spot, but why does he have to be here? I didn't think that take would get validated this quickly.
Yeah, right.
Before we saw practice. How many chances are you going to give this guy, Bill? He's now cost you 4 hours of practice time. He personally has now cost Bill $50,000.
Right.
Which I would imagine Joe Judge is going to end up paying. But this isn't even he's costing the team money and the team doesn't like paying coaches. No. Bill Belichick had to write a check to the NFL from his personal bank account for $50,000 because of Joe Judge. So where is the line? And I'll tell you this, if this isn't the line, Joe Judge is a guy who always preaches accountability. And I think accountability is incredibly important in whatever industry you're in, not just football.
Yeah.
But the guy's costing that coach $50,000. He's single-handedly cost the team 4 hours of practice. How are you then going to go in the room and preach accountability? And now Belichick's going to have to answer questions about this. Players are going to have to answer questions about this. I still go by even though the circumstances have changed, I still go by my take from Wednesday that this kind of puts a little more pressure on the players.
Yeah.
For Wednesday's practice. They have to look organized, and the players and the coaches, really, they have to look organized. They have to look like they have it together, because otherwise there's going to be questions. Do you feel like you missed the practice time?
Right.
That
you
will
lost
be a
out
question.
on that. Yeah.
And then it becomes, do you feel like Joe, the narrative becomes, and I know they say they block out the noise, but they have to hear these questions. It gets in there. Do you feel like Joe Judge cost you an opportunity to get where you need to be?
Right.
This is why, again, when people were like, oh, they're moving it back to special teams, like whatever. No, he needed to leave. Joe Judge needed to be removed from the building. You go back to that Herald report. The things we saw in that he was given a second chance and now it's bit them this quickly is astonishing.
That's the part that's so unfathomable about it is, like you said, that they literally didn't even they hit the practice field for like 2 days and it's already bit them in the ass. And we haven't even gotten to see them yet. And it's just, again, it's crazy. It's like he had to go and they gave him the chance. And I heard it from, I forget who said it, but it was something along the lines of like, what does Robert Kraft even say to Bill Belichick at this point when he has cost them this many chances for this long? It's like, what does he actually bring to the table? That's the part that I don't fully understand. Why are you giving him another chance? Why are you giving your friend another opportunity when last year, again, was such a disaster? And you mentioned the Herald report. The Herald report was not just a vendetta against Matt Patricia. It was against the entire operation that very much included Joe Judge. So if these guys come back to the facility after last year, they see Patricia's gone, and then they come back and it's like, man, this guy's still here. Like, I don't understand at all why he's still here, why they gave him the chance. And it's crazy, and it's too bad that it's already affecting them, and we haven't even hit June yet. It makes no sense.
This is the goofy stuff that was supposed to get left in 2022.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that simple. And they have right away proven that that's at least initially not going to be the case. Now, look, maybe they end up being fine, and this is something we all look back and laugh on. Obviously, that's a possibility. Right. And you know what? If they were like fine last year, I even think then it's like, Joe Judge scheduled a meeting wrong. That's kind of funny. But
yeah, right.
It's the context of the story of the 2022 Patriots was coaching dysfunction. And now what is the first headline of the 2023 Patriots? Coaching dysfunction. There's a famous Belichickism, and honestly, I think it's one of his best. And I don't remember exactly how it's worded, but to paraphrase, basically, there's nothing wrong with the player making a mistake because that's how players learn. It's don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah,
make a mistake, learn from it, don't make it again. I think that's a great approach. But isn't that kind of what just happened? They made a mistake with the coaching staff in 2022. I don't want to go as far as saying it happens because I think it was a pretty egregious mistake, but like, all right, you tried to see if these two guys could handle these bigger roles. They couldn't. Yet here Joe Judge is in a big role again.
Right.
They didn't learn from the mistake.
He got promoted. I'll say Joe Judge got promoted from quarterback's coach to whatever his role is now as the assistant.
So
coach.
I thought it was interesting. According to Greg, the league report had Joe Judge as special teams coach.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. That head of special teams coordinator? Is that behind special teams coordinator? Like it'll be interesting to find out how that's structured. But
when do they normally do that? When do they normally send out the coaching assignments?
I think it's usually like
right before training camp,
leading up to training camp. Yeah.
Okay.
I always forget if it's one of the days leading up to training camp or one of the days leading up to spring practices, but here we are leading up to spring practice. Yeah. We don't have it. So I'm going to assume training camp.
Yeah. Maybe we get it before Wednesday, but so yeah, that's sort of where things are at as far as OTAs go.
CLNS Media's Patriots coverage is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win.